Hello, welcome to today's video. Today we've got a Getac Toughbook motherboard. This board has got two damaged USB ports. Hopefully you can see that clearly. The one in the center frame there, that has got two bent pins which are touching the metal casing. Now that metal casing is ground, and what that means is those pins are shorted to ground. A short to ground on those pins will cause a signal problem on the USB bus, which will then notify the computer that there's a problem, and the computer will switch off that bus completely. That means any USB port that is on that bus will not function. So you might have 5 USB ports, 1 damaged, 4 good ones. None of them will work. So we're going to just double check what we see to make sure that that is true. So we're going to look at the port here. Let's have a look at a diagram for the USB sockets. So what you've got here on this diagram is you've got 4 pins in the left hand. We're looking at the left hand side. We've got 4 pins across the top. That is the USB 2 spec pins, and they are ground, positive, negative signal, and 5 volts in. The pins along the bottom, which are actually embedded in the plastic sheath inside the port, that is high speed receive, high speed transmit, positive and negative, and ground in the middle. So if we have a look at our meter, and we'll get our meter in diode mode. So if we have a look at the center pin of the 5 pins here, we can see that is connected to ground. And this pin here is also connected to ground. This pin's not, this pin's not, this pin's not, this pin's not, this pin's not. But this pin is, and this pin is. So those pins are connected to ground. That is going to cause a signal problem on the USB bus, and as a result, the USB bus is going to be switched off, and none of the USB ports on that bus will work. So we're going to take these ports off the board and replace them, and then that is going to solve the problem of this expensive diagnostic laptop not functioning. This is a Getac Toughbook, which is used as a diagnostic tool by companies like Renault Trucks to diagnose faults in the ECU, or reported by the ECU on Renault Trucks and other vehicles. So let's get started. We're not going to do what we normally do with this, which is to use a heat gun on this side of the board and then remove the port fall off using gravity, because we've got this plastic socket here which is too close, it's going to melt, and it's just going to be a bad job. So what we're going to do is heat the bottom of the board. We're going to put it on the heater like this, use a heat gun. When it's up to temperature, it'll be about 150 degrees. The board will be 150 degrees, which means we're not putting too much stress in any particular place. And then we're going to use a heat gun on the sockets and then just remove those sockets safely. So let's get started. Okay, so our board is up to temperature. Going to get some flux on the port and then get our heat gun, which should be at about 450. This is actually at 470, and we're going to heat the port. The port itself is going to need to be hot in order for the solder to actually melt that's attached to the port, and we'll know it's doing its thing because it will start smoking. There we go, that's come off nice and easy. I'm going to do the same for the other one. And that's come off nice and easy as well. So we didn't have to put any strain on the board whatsoever. Just move that away from the heat so it can cool down. And then we can remove all the solder from the board and then put our new sockets in place. So we've taken the sockets off now, and now we're going to clean up the solder on the board so we can put the new ports on. Okay, so that's the board cleaned up. It took a while to get that solder out. Quite a thick ground plane, this board. Getting the solder out of those holes was actually quite difficult. Takes a long time. Socket sits on the board nicely. We will solder it from the other side. So we've got 2 sockets. So we're going to flip the board and then we're going to solder these into position. Just change our tip So we'll clean that up. And so we'll check the ports now, as we did before, meter in diode mode. So there's our ground, no shorts to ground there. All good. The USB ports look like brand new because they are brand new. So that will be a working Getac Toughbook with 2 fully functional USB ports. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.